welcome back to another video. Now today I'm very excited to bring you a first look at Walrus Audio's brand new pedal, Fable. Now what is Fable? Fable is an amazing sounding granular delay pedal. Now if you're unfamiliar with granular delay and granular synthesis, I did a full overview last week on what granular is and how to use it, so go pause this video and watch that now. So yeah, Fable is Walrus Audio's take on granular delay, and man have they knocked it out of the park. Now, if you're familiar with Walrus at all, you know these guys are killer at making beautiful ambient pedals. Last year, I was lucky enough to check out their pedal Lore, and if you're familiar with Lore, this is a very similar idea in terms of form factor and controls, but instead of tackling reverse reverb, this tackles granular delay. In that intro track, all of the spatial effects were done using only the Fable, no external reverb or delay was added. In my opinion, this pedal sounds amazing, but let me know what you think, and I'm excited to show you the controls and how it works. Before we start, please remember to like and subscribe, really helps the channel grow. Go stream my new song Next to You if you haven't already, and let's get started. All right, so here we are on the front panel of the pedal, and the sound we're gonna be using today on the Prophet sounds like this. Just a simple sound, now with Fable enabled. Right off the bat, we've got an absolutely beautiful tone with everything set at noon on the first algorithm. So Fable is a granular delay pedal. Now what's granular delay? Well, like I mentioned, I have a whole video that explained this, but in simple terms, granular delay is going to be taking your sound that you input into the pedal and not only just repeating it like regular delay with feedback, but also chopping it up and slicing it into grains and then modulating those grains either with pitch or with time, lots of different things. So let's go through our controls. So firstly, we have our feedback. This is going to control the amount of gain in the first feedback path, much like it does on Lore. So less feedback, kind of get a cleaner and simpler sound. And then on full feedback, you've got what you would expect with feedback on a delay. You can kind of get really crazy here. It's great for creating drones. Next up, we have regeneration. Let's just turn that off. My bad here. So regeneration controls the amount of gain in the second feedback path. And essentially in the programs here, it's going to control the DSP granular effect feedback and really kind of work in tandem with the first feedback to create these beautiful, lush, evolving long sounds. You can hear the granular effect feeding back on itself. Really haunting and beautiful. That already right there is a sound I would use in a track. With no feedback here. Let's just take both feedback down so you can kind of hear what's going on. Really short and contained, but still beautiful. Cool. Next up here, we have our modulation. So let's put everything back at noon here. So modulation controls the amount of modulation applied to the wet signal. So you can also change the rate here as well if you want to, but with no modulation, we're going to get kind of a cleaner, less chorusy sounding effect. And then with full modulation, it's going to be a little crazy, but let's hear what it sounds like here. That actually still sounds pretty good, to be honest. The modulation is quite subtle on this, but in my opinion, with granular, you almost always want, with most delay actually, you almost always want modulation because it will make it sound a little less perfect and a little bit more wild and natural and chorusy. So you can also change the mod rate as well too. So if you hold down bypass here and then you turn mod, you can see the LED light under bypass or over bypass is changing the rate. So I tend to like a slower modulation like this. Okay, cool. Perfect. Next up, mix here. You can obviously control your mix like on any pedal. I'm running it fully wet because I'm running this out of Logic as a send. I really like this pedal as a send from the DAW. It creates awesome effects if you run like pianos through it and stuff like you heard in the intro track. And then we get on to the X knob, same as Lore. So X knob will kind of change different by each algorithm, but mainly it chops up the grain size and controls how big each grain size will be. So chop sample length. So we have really slow grains. And if we turn it to the right, get really kind of short, glitchy grains. We turn off mod, you might hear that better. Right, so that's all the way to the right, and then all the way to the left. Right, it's a little bit less stuttery, a little bit more smooth. So really useful control in all of the algorithms. All right, next up here, we've got our time. Like on any delay, controls the delay time, and also on this one controls the granular delay buffer size. So you're gonna be able to really change that. You can tap tempo in as well too if you're playing this live. Always fun to do that. All right, and then next up we've got here our tone. Really always helpful to have a filter on any delay. So basically we can go ahead and shave off if we want a really, low muddy sound. Very beautiful. And then, typically I tend to leave it open a lot of the time because I like that sort of the top end choppiness of granular a lot, but you have the option there. And then finally, that's our program controls here. So yeah, let's check out some of the other programs. I'm gonna put everything on noon and then just go through all 5 of the programs so you guys can hear the differences. But all 5 of the programs are excellent. All 5 I've used in the demo track, and I really can see myself using all 5 of them elsewhere. So let's go through them here. No, I don't have access to the exact names because this is being made before the manual is made, but I'll go through what I think each of them are doing. So program 1 is you're gonna be your classic granular effect. It's chopping up the delay in the samples and what I'm feeding in and just spitting it back out like we've heard. Program 2 is going to be pitching it up an octave, one of my absolute favorite effects. This one's really beautiful if we adjust some of the feedback up and get that drone going. Program 3, gonna be the opposite. We're gonna go pitch it an octave down. This one, like any octave down effect, you can get a little bit muddy if you're not careful. But I find it more usable than most octave down reverbs, at least, including the one on the Lore. Just for whatever reason, I feel like it ends up staying a little cleaner, and it's really great for background effects. Next up here, what I understand this effect is doing, and I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments if you get one of these and it has a manual, is dual granular DSP. So for all the other ones, it's one granular effect and one standard, feedback delay. Whereas I understand for program 4, it's dual granular. But this is probably my favorite of the effects, so. Beautiful. And then finally, for program 5, you've got a very kind of random mosaic of sound type of effect with lots of pitch modulation, random intervals up and down. This one's really cool. You do have to work to dial it in a little bit. But it can sound really, really beautiful. So that's all the sounds on the Fable. So next up, let me play you a couple sound examples, just me playing live so you can see how you would use these effects in the context of a song. Alright, so hopefully that gives you an idea of how to use the Fable and the kinds of sounds it can create. And as for pros and cons, I have a very similar pros and cons list to the lore. Everything about this pedal sounds amazing, the aesthetic is on point, the controls are really easily laid out, build quality is great, and it's a very easy recommend for me. This is definitely up there with Particle and Microcosm as, in my opinion, one of the best granular pedals ever made. And the only con I have for the Fable is that it is, just like the lore, a mono pedal. So as long as you're okay with the idea of a mono pedal, then I would say definitely I can highly recommend this pedal. Thank you so much for watching. Let's jump to some sounds for the outro. And as always, if you did like this video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.